Valerie's body was discovered on November 19, 2000, in a wooded area off of Mill Road by hunters.
24 years later, this morning, we are turning the spotlight on the Gilgo Beach serial killing suspect, Rex Heuermann, and stunning new information as he's charged with the murder of a seventh woman. Appearing in court on Tuesday, Heuermann wore a suit and shackles and told the judge, "Your Honor, I'm not guilty of these charges." Even his attorney was a little surprised.
I know he's extremely frustrated. He has said from day one he is not responsible for these murders. He is, from day one, he wanted his day in court. So, no, he indicated, I expected him to say something lower level, but he obviously wanted to address the court, so he did.
Now, Valerie Mack's remains were first found 24 years ago on Long Island. More than a decade later, the rest of her remains were found near Gilgo Beach. Her parents say they are grateful for this small bit of closure. Prosecutors say that they linked Heuermann to Valerie Mack through DNA analysis of one single hair found on her body. So let's bring in to discuss all of the new developments in this case, the seventh charge against Rex Heuermann. We have criminologist, author, and professor at St. Thomas University, Dr. Debbie Goodman, back with us. Dr. Debbie, wow, I mean, I'm sure you were anticipating this, but tell me about your reaction to the announcement now for justice for Valerie Mack.
Absolutely. Well, good morning again, Julia, and thank you so much just for the timeliness of ensuring that the viewers are aware of what you are calling, and I agree, a stunning development in this case. I think it's so important, Julia, for so many reasons. Particularly, we've talked a lot about victimology and victimization, and these families and loved ones have a right to know what happened to their loved one and who potentially the perpetrator is. So I 100% believe in, agree with DNA. You know, I refer to DNA, Julia, as does not lie. And people lie. Rex Heuermann can say whatever he wants to say in court. I didn't do it, wasn't me, you got the wrong guy. But that's not uncommon when we take a look, Julia, at serial killers, and there have been so many in our history, you know, names that readily come to mind: Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, Dennis Rader, BTK. But I love our field. I think the men and women of local, state, and federal law enforcement do a phenomenal job, and this really is, this new development is a tipping point in this case for Valerie Mack, her family, and now we identify as victim number 7.
Certainly is, and the identification is a story within itself, because I don't want to gloss over this situation where her remains were found, a portion of her remains were found at one point, and then another portion were found at a different time period, and they were found in 2 different places. And we have a look at the map of that. So partial remains found April 4th, 2011, skull, hands, and right foot. And it's 40 plus miles away. That 10 years, 11 years earlier is when other partial remains had been found in Manorville. So the Gilgo Beach ones obviously are the ones that connect her to this case. But your thoughts on what this says about the killer as a criminologist?
Oh, absolutely. You're right on point, Julia. So what it says to me is these individuals, but now particularly Rex Heuermann, the mindset is so deep, dark, and depraved. And we have to consider the forensic psychology of how these people think and how they operate. And remember, a lot of the characteristics that I would describe, again, directly about Rex Heuermann would be that of grandiosity, narcissism, and hedonism. And so when I talk about hedonism, Julia, as it relates to a killer such as Rex Heuermann, we're talking about pleasure. And I'm sorry how, macabre this sounds, what I'm about to say, but these people truly derive pleasure from beginning, middle, to the end. So when you had your graph and your chart about having remains in one location and then potentially in another location, believe it or not, they will hold on, Julia, to, souvenirs, if you will, memorabilia of the crime scene, because that's how they derive pleasure, and they like to be in control. For them, it's all about authority, power, and control. They want to be in charge of it all. They think they're smarter than law enforcement, and anybody and everybody who's potentially looking at them is wrong, and they will the killer. But the best part, of course, is when we have developments such as the one today, and it points directly to him, and I think we've got our guy.
Let's talk about what prosecutors actually have. They mentioned that in that press conference yesterday. So let's listen to Raymond Tierney with the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office.
The evidence is we have mitochondrial DNA from a hair that was found on the body of Valerie Mack, which was a portion of the body of Valerie Mack, which was found off of Mill Road. That hair, mitochondrial DNA analysis was performed, and that hair was consistent with the mitochondrial DNA profiles of both Asa Heuermann and her daughter, Asa Ellerup, and her daughter, Victoria Heuermann.
Now, Michael J. Brown, the defense attorney, Dr. Goodman, says that single hair just isn't enough. There's inconclusive in terms of the evidence. But your thoughts on it there being a single hair that is what they are relying on to tie all of this together?
It's enough, Julia. It's what I refer to in every case. There will always be a tipping point. The tipping point is when we have evidence that's a match. So let's just call it the big five, or when it comes to forensics and elements, and that's important. And that would include hair, prints, blood, urine, semen, saliva. So that's primarily what investigators are looking for and looking at when they gather, collect, preserve the evidence. Now that's one. Next approach, of course, is the who did it and how is it. Just what was said in the clip, we have the mitochondrial DNA, we have what's called IgG, investigative genetic genealogy, formal, but informal, we could just refer to it as genetic genealogy. So basically what has to happen is there has to be a match. The apple has to match the apple. The orange has to match the orange. And I can assure you that our investigators never want to make a mistake. And I don't think they did. I think the hair is critical and points to Rex Heuermann.
It certainly seems like they are taking their time as this case moves forward. He's behind bars. They're marching towards a trial in that case. Dr. Debbie Goodman, thank you so much for your analysis, helping us break down these cases. Have a good rest of your morning.